Welcome to The Backstory with Dr. Ricky Singh. This podcast is focused on bringing you the latest research-based information about dramatically improving health, well-being, and quality of life. And here's your host, Dr. Ricky Singh.
Hey everyone, welcome to The Backstory. I hope you're having a nice week. Think about this. Right now, you are the oldest you've ever been. And until we develop the ability to travel back in time, we have to accept the fact that we can't really stop the aging process. We know that exercise and nutrition are all essential parts of a healthy lifestyle, but we also need to recognize that the requirements are ever changing. Research supports that the most effective way to minimize the effects of aging is through regular exercise, eating healthy, and engaging in lifestyle modifications. One of my aunts, who's a listener to the podcast, asked me to speak specifically on exercise and how to stay active while we age. So today I'm going to do just that. Let's talk about exercising with each decade of life. Let's start with your 20s. Now, when you're in your 20s, enjoy your youth because you're somewhat invincible. And the sooner you can commit to a healthy lifestyle, the more benefits you're going to experience throughout the rest of your life. In your 20s, you're also extremely adaptable. So it's a great time to explore and play and learn new skills. It's time to build strong bones and muscles. And what's great about this decade is that you recover quickly. You have naturally high levels of anabolic hormones that circulate in your body. You have fewer injuries, and you can make gains much faster than in any other point of your life. You know, there's no specific exercise that you should be doing, but try to experiment with different workouts and see what you enjoy and then just do it on a regular basis. You might even consider joining a health club or attending classes at a studio. And think about this. I know you might be thinking, this is costly and finances are a consideration, but either you pay to stay in shape in your 20s while you're young, or you're going to end up spending lots of monies over the course of your lifetime dealing with chronic diseases and other health conditions. The other main important thing about exercising in your 20s, it's your first step in staving off osteoporosis, which is low bone mineral density. Remember that your bone density at 30 peaks, and it determines the bone density for the rest of your life. Let's go into your 30s. So life tends to get a little more complicated in your 30s. Aging starts accelerating a little bit, and you're probably involved in a growing career. You might be thinking about raising a family. And without regular exercise, your heart, your cardiorespiratory efficiency starts to decline. And that's the number one risk factor for developing heart disease. If you're not doing some type of regular exercise or regular physical activity by the time you're 35, you're going to experience a loss of muscle mass. And in men who experience loss of muscle mass, they also experience lower levels of testosterone. When coupled with abdominal fat, which we've talked about previously, the testosterone can be converted to estradiol, which is a female sex hormone. And strength training can increase your muscle mass and increase the circulating amount of hormone in your body. Both very, very important in this part of your life. In addition, women in their 30s should also be doing strength training. And the reason for this is it can elevate the level of human growth hormone in the body. Now, HGH is critical in both men and women, but in women, HGH will metabolize fat, will promote muscle growth, will help maintain skin texture, all very important in maintaining kind of a youthful appearance and also benefiting their life. Understandably, this is going to be a very demanding, busy part of your life, but it's important to find 15 or 20 minutes of exercise where you can focus on strength training and some type of cardiovascular work. Now we enter our 40s, and I turned 40 last year. And honestly, my brain still feels young. My body doesn't feel as young. And what I've noticed is that it definitely takes a lot longer to fully recover from high intensity workouts. And if I lose a night of sleep, I'm absolutely useless the next day. Things that really didn't bother me in my 20s and 30s. And for me personally, pretty much established a consistent routine. Work is steady, family life is stable, and I really need to prioritize finding time for regular workouts, even if they're small times. And you need to be selfish. Just like in the airplane, when the flight crew and the flight attendant tells you to secure your air mask and your oxygen mask before helping others, same thing when it comes to taking care of your body. You must prioritize yourself so that you can help take care of others. But even small activities like taking the stairs, which is something I try to do at work, or getting a sitting and standing desk, taking walking breaks. All these changes in your daily habits can help you burn a few additional 100 calories a day, all which is very, very important in maintaining a healthy weight. The other thing that I've done in the past couple of years is incorporate yoga into my workout routine. And improving flexibility, improving mobility are all great ways to reduce injury and reduce the risk of disease that hopefully I can avoid in the future. High intensity interval training, I'm a big fan of HIIT, but doing things like cycling or kettlebell exercises or things like that, all are going to promote the muscle building hormones. They're going to increase calorie expenditure and increase my metabolic rate, all important in this part of your life. So in your 40s, regular strength training, exercising the skeletal muscle, very, very important. But keep in mind that some high intensity exercise is great, but it does take a little bit longer to recover. So try to limit this to maybe a few times a week so you're getting plenty of sleep to promote the recovery that you need. All right, that takes us into our 50s. Now, up until this point, I've been speaking mostly from personal experience, but now I'm going to lean heavily on what family and friends tell me, what patients tell me, and some review of the scientific literature. Once you hit your 50s, whereas exercise was somewhat optional before that, exercise is now essential for maintaining good health. And it's in your 50s when other conditions start creeping up, like high cholesterol or heart disease or even arthritis. And this is the decade in which doing different types of exercises or varying your exercise routines is very important, not only to keep your muscles working efficiently, but also to engage your brain. One of the unknown things about exercise is that it helps our flexibility, our joints, our tendons, and things like that. But exercise also elevates a growth hormone in our body called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. And this is a neurotransmitter responsible for producing new brain cells and improving cognitive function, and also protecting you from developing other neurodegenerative conditions such as Alzheimer's and dementia. So remember that exercise is not just for your body, it's also good for your brain. Hopefully in your 50s, you have a little bit more free time. Hopefully kids are grown up a little bit more. You might have a chance to travel. Hopefully income is stable. And if you have the luxury to travel and to see different parts of the world, try to pick an active vacation, one where you can still engage in some of your exercise programs and not just sit on the beach sipping a Mai Tai, but always incorporate some type of exercise wherever you are in the world. That brings us to your 60s. Now, when I was younger, the thought of a 60-year-old was old. It just seemed old. But once you turn 40, like I just did, you realize that 60 is kind of around the corner. And some people say 60 is the new 40. And when you're in your 60s, you might be thinking about retiring from your career. You might be empty nesters. So it's really important to focus on yourself. Hopefully, some of the other age-related illnesses, such as cardiovascular disease, metabolic syndrome, pulmonary, and even cancer, if you suffer from any of these conditions, we know that they all benefit from exercise in the form of improving your quality of life and lowering the risk of disease and decreasing mortality. It's more important than ever to exercise more days of the week than not in your 60s. One of the things that many of my patients and seniors are afraid of is to incorporate resistance training. And yes, the idea of lifting free weights and doing bench press and things like that, might be daunting. But instead of doing that, try to use the exercise machines that are in most gyms. The benefit of this is that you can still stress the muscles and still get strength training, but minimize the wear and tear on your joints. And if you do retire during your 60s, you're going to have some free time. So I would suggest you experiment with new types of exercises and maybe new sports. The benefit is that not only will you be stimulating muscle growth, you're also going to be exercising your brain in learning new opportunities. That's going to release more brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is going to help your cognitive function and help you stay fit and healthy. Balance is another thing that comes up a lot in my clinic in patients in their 60s. And balanced exercises are a really important part of strength and endurance. So things like single leg balance. I tell patients stand in front of the kitchen counter on one leg and try to hold that for 30 seconds or a minute and then switch sides. Try walking in a straight line. If you have access to a low balance beam, try traversing that. All these things are great ways of fall prevention, which could lead to other problems. The last thing we want to do is to have a patient fall, break a hip, set back their exercise routine, and lead to a bunch of different complications. Okay, that brings us to our 70s. More and more patients that I see in the clinic, or even when I see people in the gym in my building, whenever I see someone in their 70s who have been exercising and that's been an integral part of their lives, they just look younger. They feel younger. They're more surprised. They're more mobile on their feet. And just because you turn 70, don't let that number slow you down. In the end, it is just a number. Continue to participate in your favorite activities. Staying fit and strong now is going to help you maintain your functional independence longer. It's going to keep you from relying on assisted living. In this decade of life, resistance training is still completely appropriate. You can still increase lean muscle mass. We talked about a condition a few episodes ago called sarcopenia, which is the loss of muscle mass. So resistance training, high intensity training, all very important in your 70s. You know, a lot of patients suffer from some type of joint arthritis or spine pain in their 70s, but don't let that stop you from exercising. Try to pick exercises that are less impactful on your joints. So instead of running or jogging, try a stationary bike or elliptical machine or even swimming. Aquatic fitness classes are a healthy choice at any age, but a really good option at this age because you can increase your muscle mass while reducing the stress on your joints. All right, so you've made it to your 80s. Congratulations, because currently the average adult lifespan in the United States is 78. And up until this point, and even in my patients, I don't like to use the word old. I say elder adult. But when you get to 80s, you're probably going to start feeling your age a little bit. Same rules apply. Resistance training, very important because it maintains your strength. It maintains your functional independence. I would recommend using either resistance bands or the strength training machines. They're safe, they're effective. You will put less stress on your joints and still gain that muscle mass that you need. You know, you're never too old to learn new things. So again, social interactions and learning new exercise activities are important. Both a great way to increase your strength, but also a great way to decrease the risk of developing cognitive issues such as dementia and Alzheimer's. I would encourage you, if you're in your 80s or 90s, continue to participate in your favorite activities, but just respect your age and try not to push your body beyond its limits. And if you're in your 90s, God bless. No matter what happens, never stop moving, never stop exercising. I have a friend here in New York City who is 93. I still play golf with him, and he's completely optimistic. He walks every day and is maintaining a healthy life. He does not use a cane or a rolling walker. And one of the tricks and strategies that he suggests to me is he never stopped exercising. So overall, even if you can do only a few minutes at a time, regular exercise and physical activity can provide health benefits in every decade. And if you exercise for no other reason, do it just to take control of the aging process so that you can enjoy all of your activities, so that you can play with your kids and grandkids, no matter at what stage of life you're in. Remember, your muscles, joints, bones, the entire body remains adaptable. And if you exercise consistently, what may have seemed impossible months or even years before can become possible. For me, that was very true when I started my marathon training. A few months ago, the idea of running a few miles seemed impossible to me. But with baby steps and pushing it every week and adapting my body to other exercise routines, now running 8 or 10 miles is very doable. I'll leave you with this from Irish playwright George Bernard Shaw. He says, "We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing." So I hope this helped. Stay healthy, stay fit, keep moving. Thank you for tuning in to The Backstory. And time marches on. And while we can't stop aging, we can do our best to slow it down. Thank you, everyone. We've got your back.
Thanks for listening to The Backstory. Please subscribe, rate the podcast, and review The Backstory on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Google Play Music. And feel free to share this podcast on social media or even your own website or blog. This podcast is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute the practice of medicine, including the giving of medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of this information is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for medical advice. To learn more about Dr. Singh and his clinical research, please follow him on social media. You can also sign up for his newsletter by going to www.rickysinghmd.com. That's RICKYSINGHMD.com.